Hello and welcome to a Not So Awesome Review. Today we're going to be trying to do a tutorial which hopefully comes out good because I'm usually not that great at these. But anyways, this is for the Dark Times Darth Vader that just came out from the Kenobi series, and yeah, so a lot of people are saying that this is probably one of the best Darth Vader action figures we've gotten from Hasbro, period. Even including Black Series. People are hoping that Black Series gets a figure like this, which I don't collect Black Series anymore. I'm just gonna stick with the vintage stuff, so yeah, there's that. But a few things I want to talk about here is, aside from this actually being a really good Vader, I mean, his articulation is great, his cape, and even this thing, but we're not going to talk about this, but the cape I'm not a fan of. It's very see-through, it's very textured, it's a little frayed in the front, not too much, but the most important thing is, it doesn't sit on his body well. It doesn't flow good at all. It's very poofy. Now, I'm sure if you wanted to, you could probably get it wet and then just form it down, and maybe you'll get lucky and it'll stay kind of something like that. But yeah, I just overall am not a fan of the soft goods on this guy. So I figured, you know, I'm gonna try and make a new cape for him, which I did. So I actually did it like 3 times already. Gonna show them really quick. So the first one I made was right here, out of a pleather cosplay material. I like it more or less, but it has the same issue as this one where it doesn't flow. This is kind of like a prototype anyway, but yeah, it doesn't flow or anything. It's not great. So yeah, I'm not saying this is trash, because I'm sure I could use this for something else, but it's not going to be used with Vader here. The second one, another cosplay material, not bad. This one came out pretty good. I did mess up a little bit on the edge here where it's like dipping in a little bit. But my issue with this one is the material on it feels too dull. It's too unsaturated, I guess that's one way to put it. It's cosplay material too, so it stretches and everything, but I don't like how it looks. It flows really, really well. I did learn something doing this, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, again, not going to use this one. And my third one came out, I want to say pretty perfect, but I did trying to add a wire to it. So I'm going to have to make another one, which I'm going to do right now for this tutorial. But I did one with this other, more premium cosplay material. This is the Johan brand, I believe, that's available only at Joann's. It's a little bit thicker, but not too thick that it's not flowy. It's a nicer, darker black. It's very solid. It has a little bit of a shine to it, but not too much. And I just really like the color of it. There's 2 sides to it, where one side's a little bit smoother than the other. If you're doing the wire, then you're going to want to do the smoother side outwards. Again, the wire for me didn't come out that great. I'm not great at making wired capes anyway. It does work more or less, but I feel like I need a thinner gauge wire for one and figure out how I'm going to do the hole and everything. Because for here, I did do the neck hole where you twist it around so it goes around the peg and everything. But because of that, it does pop off of his head. So yeah, it's usable, but not practical for everyday use. I feel like I can use this maybe for some photos and everything, but I want something where his head won't be popping out of his body as much, so that's why I will be making another one with the same material. But first we need a stencil. So to get a stencil, it's really easy. We just pop Vader's head off, and I'm just gonna pop that back on so we don't lose it. Put him right there, and you can see that we have the cape right here. And it makes it so much easier, because if the head didn't pop off and the cape didn't come off so easy, we wouldn't be able to do this undestructively. So in other words, you can put this back on him whenever you want. It's simple, it's really easy to do. Next up, we're going to get a piece of paper. This is a regular piece of printer paper, though I prefer cardstock because it's just stronger, a little bit more durable and everything. But the next step here is to draw an outline here. We're going to get a pencil or pen and go around the entire thing. Mark the circle, but there is a tip I have to say for that. So once you do all that, we should have a piece of paper like this. This is my original one, which I'm going to be using just because it's a little bit simpler. So the main thing I want to mention is that when you mark the circle on here, and maybe this is partly because of the outline and everything, you can see it's not perfect, but it's not bad. When you cut it, you might want to cut it just a little bit closer to the actual line here, because if you leave it too far back like I did with this one, it's going to interfere with the way it is under here, where the fabric's going to be coming out a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit weird. It's not going to work great. So we're going to want to move that circle right here where the peg hole goes through, just like a millimeter or 2 forward, so that it doesn't happen, so there's no overlapping in the material or anything. Another thing I will say though, if you are going to try and do this with a wire, it's pretty much the perfect size right there. So just heads up on that. Next step, you can do this one way or the other, but this is the way I do it. You're gonna get your material like I have here. This one may have left the tape on it a little bit too long, so it's like not the greatest right there. So we're gonna pick this corner back here, like so. Put it down, and then we're going to tape it down. And the reason I use tape is so that nothing moves or anything like that. Yes, it can damage a little bit, so you don't want to go too far over on there. But you could also use pins. You can use chalk if you want to outline it with chalk or something. This is just the way I always do my soft goods because it's just easier for me. There's really no other explanation other than it's just easier for me to have everything not move. Every time I try to do something with pins and stuff like that, I usually end up with some issues. So we're gonna just tape this down like so, get it nice and smooth. That's one end, and we're gonna go around the whole thing. So once you have everything taped down like that, next step is to get a pair of scissors and cut it out, which I'm going to do off camera. I do want to mention that I did use this Scotch tape right here. You don't have to use Scotch tape, but I do recommend using at least some type of clear tape like this, not the regular ones that you would get for, like, let's say gift wrapping paper and stuff like that. You want something a little bit stronger, but not too strong. Definitely something that is clear so we can see the outline, otherwise kind of defeats the purpose. But yeah, next step is to cut it, which again I'm going to do off camera just for convenience. Alright, so here we have the stencil cut out. I did poke a hole a little bit further up like I said I would right there. Just putting it this way so you don't have to deal with the reflection of the paper. But next up, we peel it off. Hopefully everything is good. You can see we have our cape pretty much done right there. We do have this line going. You can iron that out if you need to, but it should go away on its own eventually anyway. So let's pop off Vader's head. See if that hole is big enough. If not, I'm gonna have to make it a little bit bigger, which isn't a problem. So all I would have to do is find where I have the opening. Just go in there a little bit. Just cut a tad bit. And this material, like I said, it's stretchy, so it should be able to stretch around the peg like that. There we have that. That definitely looks like a good distance. So just plug in his head. And just like that, we have a nicer looking cape. Again, it's not super flowy. Not like the other material that I said is it's a bit too thin in my opinion, too doled out. But as you guys can see, it does look better, and just overall the color, the darkness, I think looks miles better with this figure. Again, you can do the whole trick with getting it wet to move it down and try to get it to form around his body a little bit more, and then once that dries, it'll be a little bit more better fitted to him. Yeah, so that's pretty much that for the tutorial on the cape. I do feel like I could do this bottom part by just pulling it off, because it does kind of just tuck down past his feet. I'm wondering if I can pop one of his legs off to get it off easy and do another undestructive one, though I could technically just cut it right here, because I feel like I would need to if I wanted to make another stencil. I don't think I would need to actually make a stencil to do that, so I am going to try and do that. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if it'll be in the same video or not, but yeah, I would love to change this too, just because, again, I'm not a fan of the material. I do think this is just so much better suited for the figure. It gives it a little bit more of a premium look. I understand that, like soft goods for these companies, they don't want to spend too much, so they usually give us not the best. Like I said, there's the difference between the quality of the material. See-through, 100% not see-through. Well, maybe not 100%, but a lot less than the other one. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys learned something. Again, it's good to have the hole a little bit closer than it is with this one. I don't know why, but it just so happens that this one fits better on there without it being so far forward, while this one, if you don't cut it close enough, again, the material will be kind of sticking out past his neck right here, and it'll cause issues with folding this down, and it'll just look goofy where you'll have to fold it over, and if you fold it over, then it's going to look a little bit odd unless you completely fold over the ends of the cape here, which if you wanted to be fancy, you could just like fold over a little bit and do a stitch if you have a sewing machine or something. You do it by hand, but by hand, usually you won't get like an even thing all the way through, unless you're good with a hand with a needle, which I can be sometimes, but you have to be so patient with something this small and this long, so I'm not even going to bother trying. I think this is honestly going to be the main cape he wears when I have him in my little collection display, assuming I put him for display. And yeah, okay, so popping his leg off is easy enough, but can we actually lower this without ripping it? Alright, so I did have to pop off both legs, which is fine. The main issue I had was getting it over his butt, which is apparently huge, but yeah, I was able to pop it off without ripping it. I'm going to try and make a stencil by kind of folding this over and then maybe figuring out the front end, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to probably lay it out on the paper, something like that, so I can at least get the distance right, go up, and then around like that, and then back down. Hopefully I can figure this out without having to undo this, because it just would be a pain to have to kind of sew it back together in case I wanted to put it back on, which I doubt I'm going to have to do or want to do, but you never know. Yeah, you never know. I try to be as undestructive as I can with some mods, but sometimes it's really the only way to do it. But again, with this one, we'll see how it goes. Not only that, I might actually want to make this a little bit looser, but I will mention right now that it's not glued on to his waist at all. So all I did was pull it down. I didn't have to like undo any glue or anything like that. Getting it back on, I feel like would be a nightmare, but yeah, there is that. If the waist could come off, it'd be easier, and I do think it can with some heat, but I don't have any heat. It's like already still super hot, so I didn't even want to try it, but just wanted to mention that as well. Okay, and here we have the figure all put together. So a few things I want to note is, one, the stencil I made was definitely way too big. I had to go ahead and redo the whole thing like 3 or 4 times, and by redo I mean cut down the original one. I didn't want to have to like use a more fabric than I needed to, but I do want to mention that it was a little bit too big, and now I feel like I did maybe just a little bit too much. Like maybe I should have left it a little bit longer, but getting the waist part tightened was the hard part. You can see there is still a little bit sticking out there, so it's a work in progress. I will say this, I do not recommend doing the bottom if you're not comfortable with even minor sewing, because you really don't need to do much to kind of have that sewed together or anything. But having to go back and prototype it and do it a few times over, if you're not comfortable doing that, then maybe the bottom part isn't for you. But the top half, very simple, very straightforward, very easy. I do recommend that one. The material can be expensive if you go for a yard. I don't recommend buying it online because they will make you buy a minimum, I believe, of 1 yard. Though, if you go in store, find the Yayaha brand of the black cosplay material, just get 1/4 of a yard. That should be more than enough for a project like this, for multiple Vaders. It should last you a good while if you're just doing a few small things. Half a yard will last you even longer, and obviously a full yard even longer than that. But yeah, I recommend at least 1/4 just to kind of get you started for something this small and everything. And yeah, I will probably go back and try to fix the bottom thing and make another one, make it a little bit tighter and everything. I might just actually use this one as a stencil and then kind of work around it to see where I kind of messed up, you know, bring it in a little bit more so that it's a little bit wider on the bottom and tapers in the sides here, so it fits a little bit tighter, because that was my biggest issue right now when sewing it, was getting it tight enough around the waist where I know it's not just going to pop off, but not too small where the legs are going to be a little bit off. And like I said, I feel like this should be coming out just a little bit more, but for what it is, it's not bad, and it doesn't look horrible either. So gonna leave it like that for tonight, but probably tomorrow in the morning I will be going over it one more time. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know it's not the best in the world. I'm really bad at tutorials, which is why I don't really do them that much, but I thought someone could benefit from this. And sorry if the audio is like going in and out. Sitting in front of the microphone is always a little bit hard because I have it off to the side, but then I have to move over here, I have to move over there. So it's a little bit all over the place sometimes. Gonna try and work on that a little bit more. But yeah, here's a side-by-side of both of the figures and everything, so you guys can see a before and after shot. So you can decide on yourself what looks better. And yeah, anyways, once again, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.